Yo, what's going on, people? I'm gonna make this a little bigger so people can see us. Welcome to the show. This is the Three Black Heathens show. There's only two heathens right now because our other heathen. Mrs. Drag has something to tell Mr. Drag something real serious right there. I'm about to have to report you now.
That's Xavier's model sword for Zangetsu from Bleach anime. He decided to walk around with it since it's legal here in Texas. So wow.
In New York, you
fucking not.
In New
and
York,
then
you
his
couldn't walk around with that.
pauldron too.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
No, they tackle you in New York. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So
I'm not black.
Today, look, Drag, you wanted to.
The difference is he says that he's not black.
Oh, no, he's lucky. That's he doesn't have to worry about it there. But you wanted to mention the fundraiser, right? Or
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you guys have not, for whatever reason, known what I've been doing this entire weekend, organic chemistry, one. Second, helping out Christina Blackfeather's Give a Shit project. Christina Blackfeather has been an integral part of this, weird little community we have here. She's always around for someone to talk to. She's in the medical profession. She does some crazy arts and crafts and makes dragons out of felt and all types of stuff that I could never have enough imagination to do. Loving, giving person, and she is also the person who gave Von Helton his powers to become Sorcerer Supreme. But unfortunately, she has come on hard times because of some surgery that she desperately needed, and because our health care system is not the best in the freaking world. It's kind of up to us to kind of help her make ends meet. So at least I feel so. So I've been a part of a roast. I've been a part of quite a few efforts. I've donated my damn self. So of course, Three Black Heathens cannot stand by and allow somebody who is so caring, who has supported us, to go by without being, mentioned. So please, if y'all enjoy our content, or you hate me too, that's fine, or hate Nate, that's fine too. Please, if you got a few dollars, her GoFundMe will be in the link of this show. We had to remake this particular link, folks, because there were some issues where I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So it will be in the description, and people will be posting it throughout. So, but on that, we will be talking about a subject that one of you viewers wanted to hear. Somebody contacted me privately and said, "Hey, let y'all talk about these shootings, man."
So you know what? So since we're going to get into the shootings, let's do this. Let's get into what's been going on. So let's start with the first events that happened this week. So as most of you know, we opened up this week, which started with a series of bombings through the mail. Something similar to remember what was the guy what was the other guy who used to put all the bombs in the mail? They caught the not Oklahoma
Unabomber?
City, the Unabomber. The Unabomber. So that's what this guy more or less was. He's like this new Unabomber type guy who's sitting pipe bombs through the mail. Now these were real pipe bombs. They actually had explosive materials in them. And I want to show you guys the person who did it, because President Trump was trying to make it seem like this guy wasn't a Republican. So this is this guy's van, the van that he walked around, that he went around in. So here's a wide angle lens of the van, but if you can see the windows is all Trump this, Trump that, and it has Hillary Clinton on it, and here's Van Jones, Michael Moore, and you see how they're in the middle of those crosshairs. So he has all the liberals here on the crosshairs, but all this whole Trump with his thumbs up and everything, make America great. So then here's another picture of this guy. This is him at his Trump rally with Trump with the sign, "Welcome President Trump." He had other signs to him how much he hates CNN. What were you saying, Drag?
I was just saying, like, look, I get people are ecstatic that this dude is in office. He represents the stuff that they think is good for society. But come on, really, like a few bumper stickers here and there is what normal people do. This dude's van is a hazard. Like, how does he not see? Like, if he needs to merge on a highway or something, how does he see that? Like, his
Yeah,
blind spots are literally covered up with shit. How do they
yeah.
drive in that tunnel? That's what I've always wondered.
And you know what? Looking at that van, that's not a bad looking
Oh my,
van too. That's like a, it's an all right van. I wish I had that
yeah.
van. That's a.
You don't have enough kids for that, man. You need at least 4 kids for that. Come on,
Or
at
you need
least
to be a
four.
crazy. And you see every window is like peppered with some Trump stuff. All this stuff. All this. This guy was just like a
Yeah,
sycophant.
he
This
couldn't
is a
put it
sick.
on like on the white parts on the paneling or nothing like that. He had to put it on the damn window, which you see out of. He had to put it on that.
You could tell that he probably not even that smart going forward. So we are talking about a Trump supporter too. Whatever that might be.
Oh,
But
shots fired.
so now you see here he got his welcome President Trump sign. That this guy, President Trump is making it seem like this guy was like some Democratic operative. If this guy's a Democrat, then we don't need no more Democrats because they more or less
No.
just call themselves Republicans. This guy voted for Trump. He's registered Republican, and they trying to make it seem like he's a Democrat. Listen, guys, this is no Democrat. Or if this is a Democrat, then I don't know what the fucking word means anymore. Democrat then means Republican. So here's the guy.
I don't see the need to do that. Like, why even, like, oh shit. I, am I lagging?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
But I can still
Yeah, I
hear you.
don't know, man. My internet's been fucking up a lot. It's going back and forth between the local internet and mine. I don't know what's going on, but
No.
like it. So I don't understand why people even need to do that. Like, you could say, yes, this dude is a part of the same political party that I am, and he has some views that I have, but you know what? He also drinks water. He also breathes air, right? Everyone who drinks water and breathes air also now, guilt by association. Like, that's not how that
That's
should
true.
work. It should be, this dude represents the worst of us. This is what people shouldn't be. Acknowledge it for what it is, but don't try and like blow smoke up people's ass. Like, that's
Well, you know what?
insulting.
But I think what had happened is that when President Trump and the rest of the conservatives started trying to displace him from conservatism or from being a Trump supporter, because remember at first it was kind of like they had started putting like the false flags on. Well, this is really like a Democratic operative. The bombs weren't real. You started hearing those type of narratives come out. And even Trump had made some allusions that this guy, that stickers were kind of put on a weird way. So this guy wasn't a real Republican. But I think now that most people see, like here he is with his "Make America Great Again" hat on. This doesn't implicate everybody generally who believes this. It's over, But what this does show is that he's inspired by what the president is saying, and being inspired by what the president is saying, it all goes down to this. I'm not even going to say this guy's name because I just don't like this sycophant. But here's everything together, and what it does bring the question is this Trump's rhetoric somehow, I don't want to say responsible, but somehow inspiring people to take more chances to be this particular way. You know what I'm saying? Because his rhetoric is pretty strong. I hate CNN, the enemy of the people. These people are trying to destroy this country. Like it's a very angering tone. It's a little different than, what they used to say back in the days, that you had maybe a fake kid or some shit like that. Now it's like you are the enemy of the people.
Yeah, it is something that we really haven't seen in American history, since back during Jefferson and Adams. And actually, it's funny that this has come up now because I'm having to retake U.S. history because there's a 7-year rule about or limitation on college credits. So going back and being able to now have I guess more a comprehensive understanding of U.S. history, you see the factions, and that's how my instructor chose to phrase this. There are actually political factions during the time of Adams and Jefferson. Now we're seeing that again. We're seeing not political parties where people just hold views. We're seeing people form factions around the idea that these individuals here standing around me want to see America thrive. And the people who are not standing in this circle with me want to see America burn. They want to see its destruction. And I think that type of rhetoric is very diversive. It's very, excuse me, yeah, very, you know, it's derisive. That's the word I'm looking for. It's derisive. It's built with the intention to cause division among Americans. And for me to sit here and pretend like it's not something that is played on both sides, I'd be remiss. I can't say that. It is something that both political parties participated in now. So even though in some of our eyes it may seem like, well, yes, the folks on the far right seem to be more inclined to do it, the only difference that I really see on the left is that it's pretty but subtle. It's a subtle way of saying these people here on the right are living in the past, and then they can only add just this kind of regressive ideas to they can't really move into the future. It's the same type of rhetoric. It's just not as visceral as what may come out of the MAGA camp or from Trump himself. So yeah, I do think that Trump has invigorated quite a few people, even in some of the most innocuous statements that he can make, such as "Make America Great Again." I'm not sure what that even means. It means different things to different people, essentially. So maybe to this guy, he chose to interpret that as "Let's make America great again" by killing the political opponents to the people that I see who are making America great again.
But I think there's no denying tone. I think if we're talking about the fringe, and maybe that's the point that is to be made, is that Trump is this fringe Republican, as as I forget what her name is, the young woman who just won for Congress, whatever she's going around, she's like super left, whatever her name is, Ocasio Cortez, something like that. When you have the two sides of a spectrum like that, and Trump is as conservative, not conservative, as far right as you could possibly be, even to the point where I am a nationalist. Trump has come out and said, I am a nationalist. How more right can you really get on the spectrum than a white guy who says I'm a nationalist?
Right.
It just goes as far right as possible. So I would say this. I would say I don't know about this. Both sides do the same, have the same tone. I do know there's crazy on both sides. Like the guy who shot up the baseball field. That's crazy. But I think that's a different type of crazy than what we saw here. That he was inspired. He was a Bernie Sanders supporter, inspired by Bernie, and wanted to kill Republicans. And same thing with this guy. This guy was a Republican inspired by Trump, wanting to kill Democrats. That was these two guys' motives. But I just want to say is that I think Trump, more than Bernie, Bernie's not out there calling the Republicans the enemy of the people. He's not out there saying these people are bad people. These people are this. He's out there saying, yo, I want everybody to have this type of health care. And he's saying these people are bought and paid for by the drug companies, but he's not saying these are bad people. That's just what they do. And they're saying the same thing. He's a socialist.
Oh,
That's what he
well,
do. I think it's a difference in saying these are the enemy of the people. Like the CNN, he sent the bomb there for a reason. I don't think they're the enemy of the people.
yeah, and then it's in a different way. And so, yeah, I would definitely agree that there is none of that. It's none of the vitriol. That's the word that I think best describes what I see come from the right. It is more of the vitriolic language that's used to try and drive that wedge between folks who consider themselves real Americans and everyone else, essentially. But what Bernie will do is Bernie's he's very cordial with how the way that he wants to approach his opponents. So Bernie will phrase a certain narrative to say, well, I am for the people. I'm not just here as your delegate, but I'm here as someone who is living amongst you and not above you. And with that being said, even though he is quite wealthy, he will take the bus. He is seen, doing some of these things. Meanwhile, he will point out that his opponents are not taking these steps to, see eye to eye with the common man, the common woman. They're not for the proletariat or what have you. But the way that Bernie and others will phrase it is that these people are essentially the antithesis to what real Americans are, and real Americans being, middle class, middling people, etc. And I think that in the same vein, it is pointing out that he's essentially othering them. He's othering the politicians, especially the very, very wealthy ones, and saying that they cannot see eye to eye with you. They are essentially, a modern day aristocracy. They
Yeah.
cannot, for the life of them, really get you the type of health care you need. They are living a lifestyle that is killing you, and while working off your backs. So yes, he is participating in this narrative, but it's an extremely toned down version of these people are your enemy. The 1% concept itself is an othering that he does and others will do to point that out. So in that sort of sense, he is participating with others in that type of language.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm trying to figure out. See somebody was timed out in the chat. Let's see what that's for. Maybe that might have been a
It might have
mistake.
been Jesus Lord.
Oh, yeah. No,
I think
I agree with you 100%. But I still think I think a moderation in tone from Trump definitely needs to be improved. I think he just needs to kind of walk it back a little bit. Just like I also think too, if you're out there and you're one of these social justice warriors and somebody's at a restaurant, why the hell are you yelling at them? And like come on, you know what I'm saying? If you want to protest on the street, that's fine, but let these people go to the store and eat in peace. They got to have off time too. There ain't nobody doing this stuff 24/7. Now I don't want to make the argument that equating somebody sending bombs to politicians is in no way the same as somebody screaming at somebody while they eat. That's a we at totally into the spectrum. But I do think it's at this point where the politics of today are starting to get to the point where people are talking about like I saw Fox News was running this thing about do you think how close are we to like the next civil war? And I'm like, wow, that's kind of scary, because I can see that actually happening.
it's so you touched on something that I'd forgotten about, and that's the shouting down thing in the restaurants. Now, I've seen folks on both sides do that. I've seen Nancy Pelosi get shouted down, as well as what was the cat 2 weeks ago? He had appeared on Black Cowboy. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Clark, I think is what I'm talking about. Clark.
Yeah,
I think he had been
Sheriff Clark or whatever.
Yes, Sheriff Clark. He had been shouted down, and he, along with someone else, very, very recently. I think he was last month. But the problem I have with that, the problem is that now that's set a precedent. Now that's shown people, okay, well, oh yes, everyone, hands around for shouting down this horrible, terrible fucking person who's making our society worse. Now, anytime, there's a perfect example, not Glenn Beck, Alex Jones. Okay, if someone shouted Alex Jones down and out of a restaurant, I wouldn't shed a tear. Is that man has put so many families, so many grieving families, through so much bullshit just to make $1, and he knows it, and he is absolutely just this unrepentant, just absolute liar, and he does it for the sake of his own fucking ego and to make money. We know that, but I still don't want that to become a norm, even if someone shouted him down every time he went inside of Popeyes, because that sets the precedent that say that, you know what, if you don't like this person, if you think that they're just absolutely abhorrent, then you should get with a whole bunch of other people when they're spotted, and you should go in and make an entire scene because you disagree with them. And that's not how we should do things. Not in this modern society. That is not how we should ever make any type of protest to be like, because now that's become a regular thing, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, I think you're 100% right. But at this point in time, what can we do now? I hate the fact that it seems like in America, it's funny. Law enforcement has changed, and this is even transitioning to what happened just now in Pennsylvania, right? With Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with the active shooter killing. Was it how many people were killed? I think 11 people were killed and some were
That's
injured.
11. I think 11 people in the synagogue were killed. I think 6 may have been injured, but I want to say 11 were
Yeah.
killed. Uh, let
And
me
our
double
hearts,
check.
well, our hearts go out to their families of these people, because this is something that's insanity, and we don't understand, that people do it. But I wanted to just make the point that law enforcement has changed dramatically since really not I'm about to say Sandy Hook, but the first real mass shooting, which was was that high school Dylan Klebold, the
Uh,
Columbine,
Columbine.
Columbine. The Columbine. You remember Columbine when the first school shooting, the two kids went into the school and shut up the school. Columbine. Well, what
Oh
happens
yeah.
is the way that's changed law enforcement is that if you remember, if anybody's maybe between the ages of 30 and 40, they remember back in the day when people took hostages, and they took hostages to get money, to get planes. They called it human capital. So when the police got there, you always saw these movies about police negotiations. Negotiations to come in and negotiate it out, because they're trying to trade lives for money or guns. And then eventually, now most villains know if you're getting in the bank and you got hostages, they're not bringing you to no plane. You're not getting no buses. Only thing you getting is court. Because at that point they're just going to wait you out. So it seems like the game has changed because there seemed not to be a point where you could actually win that type of game. So now it's just you have people just going into places and not using that human capital to further any higher purpose, a higher goal. In other words, they're not in it for the money. They're not in it for making a political point. Their point is the death of all these people in the place. So law enforcement now has to adjust based on the new threats. So now that's why you see like police officers just going directly in when you have hostages, because when you have a hostage situation now, there is no more kind of waiting to see if it's a hostage negotiation. You see law enforcement going in automatically because when you had these mass shootings, police would wait and would say, okay, let's try to negotiate, but didn't know, not knowing this person wasn't in it to negotiate. They were just in it to kill as many people as possible and themselves. So it changed the way law enforcement
Right.
even reacted to these incidents, and I think that's really telling about where we are today. So is this now the new norm, or is this something that we have to, that we can stop?
I think it has to do with our social mores and how they've evolved over the last few decades. And you mentioned just with the school shootings that's now altered the course of how, as far as a protocol for as how they handle hostage situation. Of course, we have the class one of the classic movies with Samuel Jackson and the now disgraced
Oh
what's his
yeah.
name?
Oh, I know you're talking about
You know,
K-Pax. I call them K-Pax.
negotiate. Yeah, with yeah. So that's a classic movie, and people, they're hearing the tricks of the trade on how you're supposed to interact with
No, remember
someone
with
who's taking a
Swordfish?
hostage, and so
Remember Swordfish
that's
too?
not a thing.
Swordfish was a good movie like that
Oh,
too, because Swordfish had that type of stuff in it
yeah.
too.
Right, and because that added suspense to it, and that's in the minds of people, and that's what sticks out. But I think that, especially when you hear about stories of people being kidnapped, usually people when they get kidnapped now, they get killed. It's not even this idea that they can negotiate with the person, and then people find out, and then police get notified, and then there's a long drawn out shootout, or a long drawn out back and forth with the police or any law enforcement agency and the suspect, because it's easier just to kind of kill them, at that point. But it's it's crazy that, yes, in a in a sense, human life now is just being discarded, and it is just this this recent, and I say recent, within the last few decades, change has now kind of spilled over into the way that people want to exact their will upon society. Uh, and I think a lot of it has to do as well with people have just kind of grown apathetic with the political process. People, we're now seeing. I've never, at least, I'm not aware of a time in which people are wholeheartedly rejecting certain parts of our political system, namely the electoral college. There are people who are just kind of realizing what it is and how it works, and like, why is this even a thing? And so having to re-educate folks on what that is. And I mean, you laugh, but after even after Obama's his second win, at the beginning of his second, semester as a president, people were questioning the Electoral College. And so then, of course, with the election of Trump, people are really up in arms about why is this even a thing? But it being that people feel this disconnect from their representative, people feel that the society should live the way, or should operate the way that they live their lives, and that they think the best way to do that is to make a statement. And they can make a statement by taking human life. The ultimate sin upon our American society is to destroy human life, and multiple human lives. And it does. And we're still talking about these people will live in infamy. And that's why we can easily reference them as opposed to our favorite actors or our favorite movies. And they know that. They know that they will be emblazoned upon the American psyche for quite some time.
Yeah, it's kind of sad because I could even name those guys from Columbine. That's what I believe his name is. So yeah, you're right. It does indulge you, but it's funny because I remember it's just interesting because generally I think we always consider ourselves to be getting more civilized, and a society always grows better. Like the statement I always like when people say, if you're alive today, you are living in the best possible world for human beings from all the human beings before you. The all back in the 1800s or the 1500s, like generally, an average person is living a totally better life. You're living longer, healthier lives. We have more, the amenities of life. Your life is going to be better, and the people tomorrow lives should be better. But this is one thing that seems to be going in the reverse direction. Before, if you had a hostage situation, you're talking about, okay, well, people, there's a chance we can get these people out. Just pay the guy a ransom. Versus now, it's like, he don't want it. His ransom is that he has no ransom. How do you protect yourself against crazy, unless you got to go in and try to kill it? And that puts down the person, the law enforcement person, in a bind, because now they got to go out and literally, when something like that happens, only thing they're looking to do is kill the guy. There's no court for this guy.
Yeah, I can say that I know somewhat of what these folks are thinking. Do you remember in 2016 when as a black dude started just shooting all the white cops? A guy named Micah Xavier Johnson. Do you remember that
No.
dude? They sent in the little robot to blow him up in Dallas.
Oh yes. Now, what did you think about that? Did you think that was all right?
Well,
For them to send the robot?
well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Well, I was upset. They sent Optimus Prime on there to blow him up. I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know they could
I
send
didn't know you could do
Megatron,
that too.
and send him on suicide mission.
I didn't know they could do that
I mean,
too.
man, there's some serious, ethical issues there, doing stuff like that, because
But you know what? Most people are
again, setting precedents, doing shit.
but most people don't. Most people that I speak to didn't have a problem with that. Because I told people I had a problem with that. Most people said they did.
Well, I don't think they actually understand the problem with allowing police officers to do certain things without following a particular. Because that's one of the things I was
To
looking
blow the
for, is
guy
like, was
up.
that a part of a protocol? Now, if they're just following protocol, yeah, I mean I can have an issue with protocol. Absolutely, have an issue with protocol. If that was not a part of a protocol, I have a huge issue with people making that decision in the moment of using explosives on us. Even if the civilian has a weapon, they're utilizing this weapon. We're talking about an explosive here being used against a person. Now, you have to be also concerned with what you're destroying as far as a building. If you're destroying a pillar and that pillar is supporting 3 or 4 levels above it, well, you're also now endangering people around you. So of course there's in the Army called a composite risk management, but there's things that have to happen before you take certain actions. So but that's a conversation for another time, folks. So I can tell you what Micah was thinking, and not because I'm guessing, is because I actually spoke to Micah. He and I actually had a conversation before. He and I spoke on Facebook before, and I was yes, I actually knew him. And so he was upset. Micah was upset because what he saw was the wanton killing of black men and the apathy of the population as far as the general white population, and how the police decided that they, in his mind, that they wanted to take matters into their own hands. And so one of the statements that it kind of stuck out was that, well, and then we've heard this before, people don't care until it's happening to them. And
Well,
for
hold on,
me, it
hold
was
on,
innocuous enough to say, well,
hold on. Just one thing, because I think it kind of passed. You kind of said it so fast. I think a couple of people missed it. So we talking about the guy that shot up the place in Houston, and that was it Houston or Dallas? It was Dallas, right? Shot up all the cops. You said
Dallas.
you knew that guy.
I knew him on Facebook. He was a Facebook friend because we were in a group together. And so
Oh,
he
that
had
means
added
you're on
me
a list,
from
man. They're
this
listening
group
to this
that I was in.
conversation right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, no, I actually got interviewed. I just put it on Facebook, and I actually got interviewed by a newspaper. I forgot where it was, and so yeah, my story is already out there
Oh
somewhere. I
wow.
forgot what this newspaper was, but I was like I'm not talking to anybody else about this, because as soon as I did that one, a whole bunch of other people was like, no, I don't know this guy's underwear size. I didn't actually know him like that. We had one conversation together, and he did not indicate anything to me other than he was prior military, and that he liked the discussion that I was having, and that people really don't care about things happening unless it's happening to them.
So he wasn't like
So
he wasn't
I
like
think
like,
he
like
knew that if no,
he
no,
wasn't
he
like
didn't give
crazy where
any
you could know.
indication that no, because I think he knew that I would have said something. Absolutely, because he remarked on how I kind of keep myself objective even though I understand the plight. And so, and then plus being both of us being military, I think he understands that I have a limit as to what I'm actually going to stand by before certain things happen. Because I'm not going to risk my freedom because you decide you want to go shoot up random people, because my cousin's a police officer,
That's
and they
true.
that it's like it's
Yeah.
I'm not going to put other people in danger because you and I agree on one or two points, that because your point isn't going to be furthered by radical action. That's not how that works. But yeah, that's so it can be the most innocuous things in the world, but it can still drive people to do crazy things. It really can. And the part of me, I wish that he had said something so that I could afford it, but no. And in the comments and anything that he had said, it wasn't, to my recollection, wild, because the group that we were in on Facebook, they keep a tight rein on the kind of stuff people say, because if you're out of pocket, as we say, you're getting out of there. But
So,
yeah, yeah.
but does this lead
Go
to
ahead.
a larger conversation about race? Because this Pittsburgh thing was obviously about race. He was an anti-Semite. He hated Jewish people, and even this guy from Dallas, he was kind of racist against one group, and then against I think whites maybe because of their what he perceived as their oppression of blacks, and then it seems like there's a running theme. It's really the undercurrent is that have we still not dealt with race in this country, and this is just kind of like these are all kind of side skirmishes to the overall general issue.
That's a good question. I think part of it depends on the perspective that you come from. You can look at, and I've come to this. You can look at things as an American who is black, or you can look at it as a black American. And I think it's very important to understand that we all do view the world through certain glasses, and that taking time to kind of step back and do that gives you a better perspective, I believe, than just a single solitary perspective. But I don't want to think that the things that are happening are a prelude to something worse. A part of me just doesn't believe that there's really that the possibilities there, but I don't think that it's plausible that there's some type of helter skelter scenario that's going to happen where our society is just going to just fall apart. It's go to absolute shit. But with that being said, that's the way that it can appear on the surface. We know what got Trump elected. We know that these people have been inspired undoubtedly by the things that Trump is saying, by the type of rhetoric that he is offering, by the vitriol that he is spewing. That is an undeniable fact. And I would challenge people to actually prove me wrong on that. Like, you can pick any speech where the man says that he can shoot someone and get away with it. Now, I'm not telling anyone, or I'm not saying that Trump is directing people to commit acts of violence, by no means. But people who feel that this man is some type of beacon, that he is an exemplar for their behavior, well, they're not pulling that out of nowhere. They're not distorting anything that they don't honestly see in him. Someone can say, well, I'm inspired by drag, and decide that they want to do something radical. Well, they did see something in me. I can't deny that they saw something in me to act as a launch pad for those beliefs. I have to acknowledge that for what it is. But you can stop just short of what they actually do.
That's true. Jag, you are lagging like a crazy maniac right
It's
now.
bad, huh?
You were like frozen like this for like 20 minutes. I was like, damn, is Drag just talking tough or what, man? You just were like, I don't know if you guys remember that bionic stick. He's transforming right there. But no, but we can hear your audio. Your audio came out real good. Yeah, what's up, Xavier? What's going on, man? We hear you.
Yeah. But Drag, if somebody was going, so if the people of your audience that are the like crazy section did something radical, that radical action would be picking up a book and reading it.
Yeah, you could say that. I'm trying to give leeway to folks who claim that Trump's just a guy, and that what he's saying isn't influencing people like this. And it's like, okay, sure, I don't believe that for a fucking second. You don't tell people I can commit a crime, and a crime which is shooting someone, attempted murder. I can literally attempt murder in public and get away with it, and not think that does that not smack of being above the law? Does that not indicate to people that you are above everyone else, that you can literally do whatever you want?
Okay. Well, to be fair, he said that he can shoot somebody in the middle of the street and people would still vote for him. That's what he said.
Yeah, people don't care.
Which I think is even more symptomatic of the problem. But the thing is that we all know, because I think even with politics and even religion, you have people who are going to follow certain things, and no matter what, somebody shows you, like even for me, like in the Bible, it says, God commanded the killing of infants. When you show Christians that, they dismiss it. And the same thing with Trump voters. You show them, hey, listen, he's cheated on his wife, he's done this, he's an unindicted co-conspirator. His lawyer said, yes, we broke the law together, and no one, it's just another thing. So, how can you convince somebody that this guy is what he is?
We're gonna I hope that Drag is right, that we won't see a destruction of the country, but I mean, we're already running into a problem of where we have an idea that a sitting president cannot be charged with crimes, which means that president is a king.
Well, right now, think about it right now, though. Trump would be indicted if he wasn't president, because Justice Department policy says that you cannot indict a sitting president.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yes, and that's where we're at right now. We're literally at right now. He would be indicted because Michael Cohen said that he broke campaign finance laws with Trump, and Trump they did it together. And by that, but the thing is, Cohen is indicted and going to jail, but Trump can't be indicted because he is president, and that's Justice Department policy. That's fucked up.
But okay, so maybe Trump won't do this, but why can't a future president just break the law break the law in sending his political rivals to jail, and then they can't run for office, and then he just stays in perpetual power?
Well, there are safeguards, supposedly. For instance, if a president was to break the law or do something unlawful, then the proper punishment would be impeachment and removal by the Senate. And obviously, if we're talking about just some tyrannous president where everybody's going to follow him and he sends the army to just kill all Congress, it's a whole different story. But generally, that's the way it works out.
But the thing is, if the president is going through and imprisoning his political rivals, you can't call for impeachment if you're imprisoned.
No, but let's say he did that. Let's say the president arrested all his political rivals. the way it would work is that he would then take them to another branch of government, the courts. And if the courts then say, okay, we're going to convict all these people, then you maybe have an argument. But an arrest, if you just arrest these people, unless you're going to hold them forever or something like that, I don't know.
He could just send them to Guantanamo.
That's fine. Well, American citizens, you do have a couple of rulings that says in Guantanamo you still get habeas. I don't know. How would you get them to be enemy combatants? I don't know. Only reason why I'm saying that because I studied a couple of these Guantanamo basis cases, and it's not like you could just send anybody to Guantanamo. There's a process. If they're enemy combatants, where were they arrested? How are they arrested? For what charges were they arrested for? You got a habeas clause there.
But that's if we're following the process. I'm like right now we should be following the process of he should be indicted for a crime, and we're not following that.
No, well that's a different argument. See, being indicted for a crime is a little different argument in the sense of it's more of a separation of powers argument, not. But
it's a question of how far can the president get away with if he can't be indicted for any crime while he's in office.
Well, think about this. The problem is that an indictment is the government just saying, we believe that we have probable cause to believe. We believe that you committed this particular crime. Now, they're saying it's a separation of powers issue because the courts are the ones who have the process of indicting. So it's almost like going to the courts to indict the president. It's because we have this separation of powers. The proper way to actually remove a president is through the process of impeachment. You really can't take a president to court if he committed a crime because there are a couple of things that go on. Number one, everybody who would arrest him would be his subordinates. The FBI director reports to him. Everybody reports to him underneath him.
Yeah,
and in that instance, all those people can't. What can they do if he's their boss? And then the second piece of it, if he's removed from office, then you still have those criminal charges. That's why remember after Nixon with Watergate. After Nixon and Watergate, he had to be pardoned by Ford because he had committed those crimes even as president, and he was going to be indicted and possibly convicted for those crimes, but he was pardoned by Ford, so they couldn't reach him. So the process was followed. You remove the president from office first, and then you could follow with indictment and so forth.
I mean, Nixon. So Nixon was a person who actually had some sense of honor.
Well, Nixon resigned. He wasn't removed.
He removed himself.
But that left him open to criminal liability.
But we have the legal battle of can a president pardon himself? Could Trump just tomorrow be like, I pardon every single crime that I do or will do?
And see, and this is what it'll come up to because this is going to come up through interpretation. Is that power absolute? And obviously some people say yes, some people say no. But I would say this. I would say there are some judicial absolutes in court, and one is you can't a man can't profit off his own fraud. If you defraud somebody or if you murder somebody for their life insurance, you won't be able to profit. That's called there's like 5 of these judicial absolutes, and one of those absolutes is that you can't be your own judge. So I can't be my own judge. So that's why now it's an open question on whether the president could be, because that would essentially make him his own judge. So for him to be able to pardon himself. So it's like, is that possible? Is this constitutional provision, does that give him the right to be his own judge? And I don't think it does, but it'll be interesting to see how the court rules.
No, I can't wait for some of these court cases.
Like the best one with Trump now, I don't know if you guys have ever heard this, that there's a group of people called Trump Block, the people blocked by President Trump. And what happens is that President Trump was blocking his Twitter followers, So
yeah.
So a couple of people had went to court and said that Trump, by doing that, was violating their free speech. And they're like, what do you mean by Trump is violating our free speech? So Trump administration is like, what are you talking about? That's his personal email account, personal Twitter account, but it's not. He actually says those are presidential pronouncements from the office of the president. And because he's putting forward these presidential pronouncements on behalf of the government, that he can't block anybody. because by blocking somebody, he would be violating their free speech rights. And now Trump cannot block anyone from his Twitter account because it'll be violating their free speech.
Yeah, I'm like, I still love that that's all gonna go into the public record for as long as the country exists. Every single one of those tweets.
Yeah.
that presidential correspondence.
I don't know how did we even get here. It's like, is this real? Like, sometimes I think, is this real? Am I living? You know, like when I'm ready to wake up the next morning and be like, Hillary was always president. It's like, Trump is president. This is like some scary stuff right now. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you have the two most hated candidates run against each other, and one of them is a known actor, and the other one is an unknown. And people are like, "Hey, I already know what one is likely to do. The other one is saying some good things." So you had people that were like hoping he did some of the things that he said.
Yeah, that's true. Well, right now the economy is doing well, so I think everybody is in love with the economy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, jobs are plentiful.
Dow didn't Dow drop down below its year at the start of the year?
Yeah, I know it's been taking a hit, but that's because of the trade wars and stuff. And a lot of people don't realize this too. This tax cut really was for the rich. Like, they dropped the corporate tax rate from 36% to 21%. Just imagine if they dropped your tax rate by. Say it again.
Did you see what the new one's supposed to do in actual dollar terms?
Was it $2 trillion, something like that, over 10 years?
Well, no. So, but in actual dollar terms of what you get back, it's the bottom. I think the bottom 30% get $150 back in the entire year. They get $150 back for taxes. Mm-hmm. Middle class gets I think 1,000 or something. So it's small numbers. Mm-hmm. The top 1% gets another $40,000 added on to the $60,000 that came from the other tax cut.
Wow!
So they get $100,000.
It's like, why don't people care about this? Why don't they care that we're giving trillions of dollars to corporations and big business? I don't know. I do not know.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the chat too. I stopped watching Don Lemon too. I know Don Lemon's a sicker fan, guys. I don't like Don Lemon, but go ahead, Drag.
Yeah, no, I think it's funny because I got some idiot following me around saying that I'm parroting CNN. I was like, it's funny. I've not actually sat down and watched CNN since I was living with my in-laws years ago. Like, I can't stand Don Lemon. And I'm that petty. I am literally that petty that I don't like him so much that I won't even watch their entire flight. I don't care who else is on. I won't watch them just because Don Lemon. But yeah, that's him. I don't know who that is, but
no, that's me.
But yeah,
that's me.
Somebody's
calling me on Hangouts. Sorry about that.
I don't. Is that him calling you?
I'm looking right now. I'm checking on my phone.
Oh yeah. So it's like I get my political opinions from actually honestly reading some articles. You know, I might check out Yahoo. I said, okay, well, that's Daily Mail, man. That's cute. You know, might check Reuters. I might check BBC. I'll check a lot of other sources that, I'm not going to check Vice. I'll look at it, but there's certain shit that I'll take seriously, and it's like, okay, let me just see what they got to say.
My American news, unless it's very a specific part of the country, I'll pretty much go to a foreign newspaper.
Yeah, if it's something local, that's different. You know, I'm going to watch. If I want to see about something back home in Louisiana, I'll look at KATC, and no one's going to know what that is.
No, but what spin does the BBC want to put on American news for actual political?
I think somebody could make the argument that they would put a liberal spin on it based on their political climate, because people feel that they're catering too much to the Muslim and Arab population. I think they would actually make the argument that it would be more of our left influence just because
Well,
of what they
that's
have to
because
deal with in
our
there.
Overton window is as far right as fucking you can get without going into totalitarianism.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the argument could be made though that would be what's going on. But no, I think as far as our news, BBC would be probably way more objective than anything that we have to offer. But I've heard from quite a few Brits that they don't trust BBC
No,
as far as in their country.
I don't. So if you're trying to get news about your country in today's day and age, it's just smart to go with an outside source
influences.
Because that'll have the most objective, because it doesn't have your country's political climate in the mix.
But you know what though? Something's going to make you guys laugh. The BBC was called the enemy of the people by Winston Churchill.
Wow.
Yeah, but Winston. So Winston Churchill, he was a good wartime prime minister, but for actual like rights and all that, he was kind of a shit prime minister.
And the reason why was because during the war, he had asked them to run positive, more let's put a positive spin on everything, to keep everybody feeling good about the war, even though you got bombs over Britain and all that other stuff. But he still wanted to give to get the morale of the people up by kind of fostering these false stories, not really false, but just good news about what's going on. But the BBC rejected it and said, no, we're going to report what is actually happening. We know this is going to be the historical record for this thing. And that's why he called them the enemy of the people. He was like, they weren't helping him, keep people motivated for the wartime efforts. It's interesting because now when you guys were talking about BBC, it made me think about earlier how Trump called CNN the enemy of the people. But and we vilify him. But on this other end, here's Winston Churchill. He did the same thing, albeit for different reasons. But he did do the same thing.
Yeah, I think it is important to at least seek, some viewpoint or some perspective that is outside of whatever it is that they're viewing. You don't want having I guess more of a remote viewer.
Well, I mean, treat it like a science experiment, Drake.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to. They said I was talking science. I don't want to talk. I'm done with science. I'm tired of looking at grandkids. Still at this shit all day. But you should seek that. But when I hear these political pundits, and it's every time I encounter somebody who is so far up Trump's ass that they think that every time he opens his mouth it's the fucking sunshine. It's everyone else can't view reality, through an objective lens. Everyone else, are the ones that have the issue. It's never them. It's never that they view the world through Trump's ass out of his mouth. It's never that. And for the life of me, I go, okay, so besides, your disdain for CNN and MSNBC, what do you have to offer that I'm supposedly missing? Because at no point in time do I call myself a progressive or a leftist or any of that shit, because I like to identify myself with the subjects and the topics. Like if I like a candidate, it's because I like them because they have several positions that I love. I love encouraging business growth. I love encouraging people not focusing on folks' individual rights and trying to dictate, having the government or having some agency dictate what they fucking do with their body. Notice that some of these things that I'm mentioning aren't things of the left. I am baffled though at many of the people who, again, will tell people that they're viewing things through a particular lens or they're eating this rhetoric and yada yada yada.
What left are you talking about? Because I'm on the left. I identify as left, and those are both some of my beliefs.
Those are typical positions espoused by folks on the right, but the point I'm making. It's like you don't have to uniquely hold those positions and say no, you can only be in that camp. But no political party, no political position owns that position, but there are ones that are commonly identified, with that party or faction. Yeah. But for this though, one of the reasons that I'm almost mystified by some of these folks is that they don't actually hold those positions. They don't hold them consistently, is what I should say. If you don't want the government peering down the necks of American citizens, then don't encourage and vote for the fucking Patriot Act. You know, because if you go back and you talk to these people, well, were you for it? Well, yeah, it's secure. Well, hold on for a second. You don't want the government breathing down people's necks, but you were for the Patriot Act.
Or
Okay.
warrantless spy tapping.
Oh yes, like just stuff. There's clear violations of privacy. You're for that, okay? But you want people to stop gay marriage. Again, how does this impact your life? Oh, okay.
Well, you
So
see, Drag.
they don't want to
See,
actually.
when the penis goes inside somebody else's butthole, it's like it went inside of your butthole.
Oh, that's what it is.
You have to live that experience. That's why.
That's what it. Because I had a conversation with good old Jill in the chat, and boy, he ran himself around in circles trying to explain to me how much he loves voting for folks on the right. And I swear he is the specialist Negro fucking snowflake I ever heard in my life. But it's interesting. He wanted to say on the one hand that he was for individual freedoms. He hates how the government gets in people's lives. But then I said, well, hold on for a second. Usually when I hear people say that, Jill, they're also for the government stopping gay marriage. And they're also for, this, that, and the other, as far as people's reproductive, like, oh, well, no, I'm a Christian. And so as a Christian, I have to be, anti-abortion. So hold on for a second. But you do want the government in people's lives and to control what the fuck they do. Well, yeah, they have to. So, okay. So when people on the opposite side of the spectrum say the same thing, you lose that leverage above them. You can't say that you don't want the government. Yes, you do. Don't say that you don't. Yes, you do. You do, but it's just in these certain cases. So you cannot actually make that argument anymore. But no.
So the incel that I was telling you about is for limited government, but he also wanted the semi-mandated relationships.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. You. I don't even know if I want to get into the dude that you spoke to at that fucking festival. I can only imagine how far my eyes would roll back in the back of my fucking head. I mean, black people at Renaissance fairs anyway is kind of rare, but still, that's just wow.
Well, hold on. I would say this. There are some things that I think everybody's conservative on versus everybody's liberal on. Like, I do want smaller government. Hell, I live in New York City, so I definitely want smaller government. We need smaller government. And I want them to spend our money properly. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, when you give, the more you feed the beast, it's going to just be fed. I want lower taxes, but I also think, everybody should pay their fair share. I don't know. And if the government can guarantee all this stuff, they can guarantee health care. If you put 3 million people into a big enough pot, then healthcare prices drop because we're all going to use it eventually. If you want to insure us all at one time, and just call it a day instead of having everybody have these little pieces of insurance and people going broke because they can't go see a doctor. Doesn't make any sense. This is why we have Social Security. Social Security is, with the effect of that. People are just getting old and not having anything. Let's get Social Security going on. So now it's just for medicine. We can do the same thing. But again, I do agree that I'm very tough on crime, but yet I'm more liberal on sentencing. I don't know. I think nobody's a monolith. I think we're just in a suck ass system that only has really two lines. You got to be this way, or you got to be this way, and they're both so extreme from each other that if you don't fall into one, you kind of stuck here in the middle. And I don't know, like something like right now I'm voting for Democrats because I believe Trump needs a check. But there could be a Republican that I vote for. It's just, I don't know who that person will be, but it's possible.
I'm not ever opposed to voting for any Republican. It's just that many of them are preoccupied with religious bullshit, to be honest with you. They're too interested in trying to police people's lives, and they claim that they're guided by Christian morals and all this other stuff that I give two shits about. Consenting adults getting married is a non-issue to me. If you're spending time and money trying to tell people who they can't get married to when they are legal, law-abiding adults, you are wasting my fucking time and you're wasting people's money. If you are trying to police people who are trying to have control over their medical situation as far as their reproductive rights. You're telling women what they can and can't do. Now, I understand people have an aversion to abortions. I don't like late-term abortions, yada yada. I do think that people should have agency over that, and of course there should be a cutoff line. But like this is to me kind of a non-issue that people bring up, and they become single-issue voters on that. But then when it comes to the follow-up, well, okay, let's say no more, but let's actually, let's reverse Roe versus Wade, whatever. Are you going to ensure that this child has access to the same kind of human rights that everyone else has access to, such as healthcare? Okay, so you don't want to ensure that this mother has the WIC, and or she might be on food stamps. Who knows? That single mother's kind of, life kind of sucks that way. They have to actually eat. There are actually consequences for this life being maintained. And there are advantages and disadvantages to it being, taken, if you want to look at that way, at it that way. But I don't ever get that far with any of these folks. I don't, when I actually try to engage in more of a deliberative dialogue with them, instead of just this, political banter back and forth, we end up just trading barbs, and narrative is espoused, and there's no real substance to say, okay, if I were to say, let's reduce taxes and encourage business, how does that impact the population as a whole? Are you telling me that potentially people will gain jobs, or that you're just telling me that trickle-down economics 5.0 will somehow magically be better than the first 4 iterations of it? Like, explain to me what the fuck is actually happening here, and don't give me these goddamn slogans, because I'm telling you, wasting time with telling women what the fuck they can do with their vaginas and telling gay folks that they can't get married is an absolute and demonstrable waste of people's time.
So I definitely the farthest on the left, at least for our thing, because I want government to eventually become the entire world under a single government, so that humanity can act in one interest.
A globalist.
And then I'm like, yes, I am a globalist, because guess what? We're all humans. Our main goal should be the survival of our species. And if we can put all of our resources into saving what's going to be left of this planet, and then hopefully colonizing other planets, that means humanity lives. So I want to see that happen, but we can't do that if all the countries are fighting each other to, all right, I'm going to be first to Mars. No, I'm going to be first to Mars. Why not we all go to Mars? But then, and then I'm like, I want government to be larger, because it's going to be by necessity, because we're going to get to the point where AIs are going to take over computer science industry, because they're going to be able to think of programs faster than any human could possibly do it. All of your industry and production is going to be AI. Like at that point, most people are going to be living off of a universal basic income. I'm like, you'll still probably have like specialist jobs and stuff like that, but the majority of the population won't have a job. So like it necessarily has to happen with automation, that we have bigger government.
Xavier, so are
Yes.
you? So it sounds like you are like, what's his name? Star Trek. Would you say Star Trek is your ideal government system, where you do have one world government?
Yes. If that would actually be a pretty good government.
You're a Trekkie. Oh, this guy's a hardcore
I am a Trekkie.
I am
a Trekkie, but
I love the Star Trek ethics too. I actually think that's a pretty good set of principles for ethics. I think it's interesting. Gene Roddenberry.
Well, I mean, they just grabbed like ethics that were already around for a lot of their things and pieced them together.
Man,
I knew this
Only reason why I know it because it sounded so familiar when you start talking about one world government and this and this and I'm like, this sounds like Star Trek right now. You hit me with the Star Trek.
That Star Trek is a very good example.
The Federation right there. The Federation.
If we could achieve that in our lifetime, that humanity will survive.
Live long and prosper, baby.
Yeah, but I'm thinking if we don't come together as a species in this next century, we're probably gonna go into downfall because global warming is gonna start causing massive migration shifts.
But isn't that the whole when we talk about something like brings everybody together, that forging of those relationships usually are done in great tragedy. Maybe global warming is that tragedy that brings together. And in Star Trek, remember they had World War III, and everybody was scattered around, and what brought them together wasn't even the fact that they had almost killed everybody, but the fact that the Vulcans came and they found out that there was other planets. And that's what brought them together.
Well,
so it seems like
it's because of time travel.
Great that happened.
How it originally started in Star Trek, since time travel caused a different effect.
No, but you're talking about before they went back and with the Zephyr Cochrane thing. But remember, he had done it without them. Well, could he have done it without them? Possible, but
it was a paradox because when they went, yeah.
But don't forget, there's one thing that's absolutely true. What brought everybody together was the fact that Vulcans had landed, and that's what galvanized Earth to become a one world government. And then they started, collectively doing it for everybody else. So come join our government. Come join our government. That's why it's based at Earth.
I don't see the Vulcans. I don't see the Vulcans coming and visiting us, and I don't see us So the moment mass migrations start happening because of climate change, so the Middle East is going to empty out of people. So what we saw with the Syrian refugee crisis is just a drop in the bucket for what's going to happen. And I mean, you're going to have mass migration of population. Countries unless we have one world organization that can effectively move resources between what is today countries effectively, then countries are not going to be ready. Countries are not going to have the capabilities.
Yeah. Meanwhile, United States of America is still working on pounds and ounces, and the rest of the modern world got the fucking metric system. But y'all think that we're gonna?
I want to say something. I got to challenge that because I know I was watching Veritasium. Maybe like what's it called? This show, the science show on YouTube. It's really good too. You guys are gonna watch. I got to put a link in the chat or something like that. But actually, the metric system here in the United States, we use it when they actually convert things to cups and pounds and all that. It first comes into us as a metric. We convert it to English system, but those English conversions, what a cup is actually done in a metric system. So like a cup is X amount of grams, or milliliters, or so forth. Like that conversion, it's all based on. It's actually all based off of the metric system. Even what a cup is or what a gallon is, it's all based off the metric system. So it's funny because we convert it, then convert it.
It just
back.
makes it more convoluted.
I'm like. I'll take the metric system, but can we have our milk still in like a plastic container instead of a bag?
Well, actually, there's this push now to align the two. So, for instance, you know how if you get 4 liters, that would be considered a gallon. So just to align the metric system with and just make it so like instead of a cup, it'll be a milliliter or a liter or something like that. So to align those units.
So have the units to be just whole numbers that are easily convertible between the two.
Yeah, so a gallon would be 4 liters, and a liter would be what's it called, a quarter of a gallon. So all those numbers would just line.
Or we could just have one system. I mean, that's easy too.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. I wouldn't have to try and memorize create these crazy ass mnemonics that I had to create to figure out conversions because I actually have to do that part of the shit that I do, and just to remember milli, micro, pico, and femto. I had to come up with a mnemonic. My uncle punches fannies, and then I know it's in
Are they
multiples of
male or
3.
female?
So if you know what a fanny is, it's British slang for fanny. So vagina. So my uncle punches
Are they male or
vaginas.
female?
But
You've never heard a male called vagina?
no.
Male called
Okay.
vagina?
He punches fanny. It doesn't matter. It's the mnemonic. It don't. You too deep. You too deep. My uncle punches fannies.
That was way too easy.
Into that mnemonic. It's not even supposed to be that deep. Literally.
You already know that that's exactly where my mind goes.
Yeah, and I had to think about it too because it's like the mnemonic was like right there, and I was like, you know what? He just took it and just fucking threw it and just like whatever. So not playing these games. No sir. No sir.
Yeah. So Nate, if you didn't know, I take everything and break it down to the smallest gnat's ass, and then reconstruct it.
Just like, oh my God, people, you can't take me. No, you can't take Xavier anywhere. I'm just like, goddamn, all these old people.
Well, you can't take me anywhere because I'll eat all the food.
Well, that too. Yeah, that too. But no. But by the way, Sam, no, he didn't eat all the fish in Houston. None of them are on the endangered list. So, yeah. Anyway.
So I'm like still thinking. Well, I'm watching the chat. Everybody's thinking about this milk in the bag thing. I'm like, you know what? That is interesting. Milk in the bag.
Yeah. No. So in Canada, well, I learned this too from the Canadians. They still have their milk in bags. I didn't know that. Yeah. No, because I stopped seeing milk in bags around middle school. I think. Yeah, I think it was middle school.
No, wait.
Damn, I've
where
like
were
never
you seeing this?
In a bag.
I want to know what you
never seen it. No, really?
I've never actually seen it. I've never never taken the time to look.
So I remember in elementary school in Louisiana, and in grade school in Mississippi, I remember seeing milk in the bags. But when I went to sixth grade was in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Was like Canada doing a relief act or something?
No, I think they've always had that though. I think they've always had bags. But I mean, it's in bags, but the bags are in boxes. So I think I want to say the bags come in like wine. So I mean,
oh yeah, no, I see.
Oh, they got links now.
Milk in the bag. Yeah, they got links. So you learn milk in bags.
Learn something fucking new.
Okay, I'll take a look at this link.
This is like a thing, man. This is like a thing. Food Network too. See, this is what I'm talking about. Our fans. When you say you want milk in bags, you get links to milks in bags right now.
Can they get like a bolded thing of the reason? I don't want to read all the text of why.
I'll just ask Char later because she knows. Char's good for that weird. Well, actually, no. Nicola's good for the weird Canada facts. So
okay, why do the bags come?
Well, if you think, it might be better than bottles, which will break at the milk, especially if it's cold. And more expensive, maybe break the bottles. So you run plastic bottles. Maybe instead of starting with plastic bottles, you start with plastic bags, and it just stuck. Then you don't have to worry.
I like my
cartons too. Maybe carton. Yeah. Well, don't forget we're putting it in a box. We're putting it in a plastic and really a box. They're putting it in a bag.
Well, the plastic bottles, the jugs, those are being used for all the maple syrup, so they have to use bags. I mean, that's how I make sense of it.
It's gross. What's? I'm so confused.
I'm gonna watch this. Like, why are they talking about milk in bags?
Milk in bags. That's right. We just talk crazy on this show.
I have no idea.
Oh
man, I know. I seen something. Did Imp send you that video of the how can I say this? Of the dancers at some of the clubs that he promotes.
Oh yeah.
You sent that video?
Okay. Yeah, I don't think we can play that video.
We got
not something we can play.
You gotta send me that video.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. That was one of the videos that I got sent while I was getting the tires fixed the other day. I was like, ooh, So okay, these are
Put
your
on videos that
employees.
you, but you know what? That made me put imp on my I cannot watch his videos in front of the family list. Like like sometimes people just send you those wild videos. You hit play. You go, oh, I gotta watch this later.
Yeah, I was like,
So imp,
usually, yeah, it's usually I
yeah,
was like, okay, he sent me something informative. Okay, let me check this.
because
Let me check
yeah,
this out. I
I'll
was
just
like,
be I'll hit
oh,
play in
okay.
front of the kids. I hit play anywhere. Let me check this out. I don't think he'll send me something like this. Oh, pause. Because
There's
then
some
you start getting
talent.
questions from the kids. Daddy, what is that? Nothing. Nothing.
It's like,
It was a
nope.
mistake. So yeah, so Imp has been
You
put on
got
the list.
daughters too?
Imp has been put on a list of cannot play his videos in mixed company. But it was a pretty decent video.
Yeah. Oh no, I watched it. Well, me and the wife watched it later. Yeah. No, it was.
yeah, it wasn't a bad video. It was an
Yeah, I
entertaining.
sent it to you, Xavier.
Video, but it's funny because even now, because we're about to end this thing soon, but even now it's interesting. We go from I just was watching this week. What's her name? Candace Owens. She was at the White House and she brought the young black.
Oh,
What's it
God.
called? The young black conservatives. Now there was a
Oh
recent poll
yeah,
that came
skinny
out.
chick.
Yes, but there's a recent poll that came out that said Trump is only supported. He only has 3% of support in the black community. 3%, which is the
Really?
highest, which is the lowest level ever. Yeah. So
It rise from
do you
1%.
Yeah, and Candace Owens, she took the 3% to the White House the other day. So if that's the case, what do you think the problem is? Why do you think Trump has such a problem reaching out to minorities? Because it's just the same in Hispanic community, Asian
Mm.
community. It's like a serious problem.
Well, I mean,
So I can tell you.
You said you can tell us. What can you tell us? What can you tell us?
So there has not been a black Trump supporter that I've met that does not in some way embody anti-blackness. Just as a concept. They can't actually stick to, okay, well, I like these positions. I think this would be the most efficacious way to go about, going about, this economic plan, yada, yada, and just kind of laying out the evidences, right? They can never do that. It is always, well, I don't like this about black people, and I think that he'll fix this. It's always something rooted in how Trump can fix an entire demographic of people that he has little to no interest in. And so this person has now made themselves into like the prototypical model, like Nate, you probably get this reference, Du Bois, the 10th, I just had the reference too. Du Bois Talented 10th. I don't know. You remember W.B. Du Bois, his theory about the top 10 African Americans being the exemplars for the rest of the 90% of the population. That's how a lot of them go about trying to portray themselves. And I'm not entirely disagreeing with Du Bois and his depiction of that, and that if that would be the way to go, but they themselves are mediocre. They themselves don't actually care for other black people. They actually despise a great majority of other people within their own demographic. So no one's going to follow them into anything, especially from some of the rhetoric that you hear. Just like Jesus is Lord is a perfect example. He in no way, shape, or form amounts to a fraction of the man that I am. And I have no problem saying that. And so there's no way that people would follow him over me. No fucking way, unless they despise themselves. Sure, absolutely. But that's what they amount to. People like Candace Owens, that's what they amount to. And until they're something more than that, then I don't see them being anything. I don't see them actually changing society. Because if I approach another black person and go, I think I know a way to improve, the lives of you and your family, I'm not coming from a position of superiority that here are you wretched fucking creatures and you need to do what I say or you'll just be a wretched fucking reprobate forever. Here is what I think we should do as a community together that all of us can improve on. There's a difference even within my own arrogance. I understand that I put my pants on one leg at a time, and I'm not better than that person, even though I might make a little bit more money, even though I might be a little bit more educated, or I might be able to code switch better. I'm not actually better than them. In reference to me being in the society, I am not. I'm still a Negro. So just like them, I need to approach them with some fucking respect and a level goddamn head. And I don't see any of these types of individuals doing that.
Good, Xavier.
So,
You trying to
question.
jump in there.
I just want to. I just need to know why this is a title used for Trump. Why is he called the Great White Hope
I have no
by
idea.
Black people?
I
It's only by Black people.
I think it started out as a joke, and then some people took it seriously. But
I mean, you never see like any other racial group be like it's the Great White Hope. Is that part of that semi anti-black?
Yeah, I think it's with what's the guy's name? Jesse Lee.
Jesse
Jesse Lee Peterson.
Peterson.
Oh, he's the worst. Yeah.
Yeah. He's. I think I've heard him say that quite a few times.
Well, we watched a video with him and David Pakman.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I've heard him say it, and there's a few other people who have said. I think.
You know what?
Actually, I think I've heard Jesus is Lord say it too. So again,
I will say this.
Yeah.
For Jesse Lee Peterson, the worst punish he lived. Just imagine he lives every day in hell because he wakes up a black man every day. And I know he must be like, this is fucking hell.
You gotta look that.
So his punishment, I wish him long life. Just like you remember in 300 when the guy looked at the humpback and he's like, I wish you lived forever. And people are like, why? Because he lived with the shame. My wish is that Jesse Lee Peterson lived forever as a black man. Yeah. He deserves it.
He does. Because he is a self-loathing person, just like Jesus is Lord, just like a lot of the people that I meet like that. And don't get me wrong, I've encountered people like this in my real life, and I pity them. I pity them all because they think that they're special Negroes. They think that they are magical because they somehow are different. The fact that they are different inherently makes them better than those of us who might vote in opposition to them. And at no point in time have I actually met any of these motherfuckers who are better than me at anything. Not a goddamn thing. So until I do, and someone might actually be better than
kissing ass than you are drag.
They probably are better at kissing ass, but I don't see them changing anyone's mind. I don't see them actually changing large swaths of people. I don't see any of them doing that. And that's because of their mentality. They are inherently anti-black, not because of the way that they vote, because of the way that they fucking think. I'm not going to go, you're not going to see a redneck, be talked down to by a yuppie. And so, the yuppie's trying to tell them how to live their life and how to, start a, Roth IRA or, what have you to build generational wealth. They're not going to listen to them. They're going to go to some fucking Cajun who's going to, speak broken fucking, Cajun French to them. That's going to try and communicate how they both can have a better life together, by working with one another in cooperation. But that's the difference. That's the tone. That is the amount of respect, and that is something that's severely lacking when it comes to having discourse in this day and age. You don't have that.
You should check the Discord. Link that.
I turned off Discord.
No. Vincent put a link in the drag chat to Discord, or to a Discord picture. It'll show up in your browser.
Okay, I'm going on. I closed. Y'all said I was lagging, so I closed like all this shit. Like I closed.
Oh no,
everything.
You did get better. No,
I had another monitor
on. Because I was like, and then because Xavier's laughing, I thought it might be me, but keep looking. So I took all gum. I'm all good. And I usually have people on this thing anyway, so I'm never really, nobody's ever chopped it before. So I don't know. Must be that Texas internet.
I'm thinking it's all the storms.
Laptop's old.
Oh, you guys are
no.
All right, there it is. That makes
sense. So we've gotten hammered by pretty much like rain every single week.
Yeah.
This is the global warming that we talk of.
Yeah, shit. So I'm better than Jesus. Lord says, "Drag, I'm better than you because I'm a Christian, not a conservative." Okay. Okay, notice not one example of how any conservative talk down to him. That is called low self-esteem. I'm not sure how those two statements even remotely relate to one
I don't
another.
even know. I don't even know why you read his stuff, man. It's like when I see Jesus
I
is
think it's
Lord,
funny. No,
I
Wait,
just
what
like
does
look
that
the
mean?
other way. I don't even.
no.
I don't know what's wrong with the guy. The guy is insane. He's a
Well,
black
I can
man
tell you,
trapped
he's
in a black
self-loathing.
man's
Like,
body. That's the problem.
I hope Jesus is Lord wakes up blacker and darker every goddamn day.
No,
That's
I
a man who
wish
wakes up
melanin
wishing he
upon
was
him.
white. If he woke up
no.
tomorrow being white, he would praise God. Finally, my prayers have been answered. And then,
So
and then
did you turn
the
out
next
on
thing
the
he'll
street
do, he'll
track
leave his
when
family and
child?
call them niggas. That's what he'll do. He'll be like, I can't hang out with you niggas no more. I'm a white man.
That's funny. It's funny, but Jesus Lord is. I, mean, I love what he tries to say because it's the exact opposite of everything everyone else is saying. Like even in the rose, there's like drag is so fucking arrogant. I'm arrogant, but I have an inferiority complex according to Jesus Lord. I don't know how I do that, man.
I'm like, you watch Naruto, right, Drag?
I do.
Sasuke.
I do. Sasuke. Oh my god.
Inferiority and superiority complex.
I guess so. I can be the last Uchiha. I'll take that.
Yeah, that's true.
So do you
He's
really
like
think?
Uncle
Here's the
Ruckus.
actual question.
Oh,
He is Uncle
no,
Ruckus.
you know what? What's his name is inside here too. I saw what Dark is. He little popped up in here under his now new alias
Yeah.
too.
I
That's
think
the what you were
there's
saying.
a
You think?
correlation. There's an inverse. I think there's an inverse correlation. So the Pal Talkers kind of take a break, and so he gets excited again. He starts coming out because you notice when they come around, he goes running. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's funny.
Well,
But
he hates me now. I don't know. You know, I know we
but you,
were, but
well, you more successful than him, and
no. It's just no. It's just his argument still is the same shit. It's just God exists because God exists. I literally just said one time, why does God exist? He said because the Bible said it said. So the Bible says that's how I know God exists because the Bible says it's true. No, because God exists. Because why? Because God exists. I'm like, okay, that's not an argument. You're just saying stupid shit. You know what I'm saying? You ever told me anything? You're just saying God exists because God exists. And now he just wants to pretend that he never
Darth
said
Vader
that.
himself.
Yeah,
Oh
it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad. But the
yeah.
thing is, this is all he has, so I understand that. You know.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't like he's not going to be able to espouse any of these views in real life. So this is I guess cathartic for him. I don't really know him that well, but I have messed with him in chats a bit, and he's taken a few of the baits that are thrown out there. So I can somewhat get a profile on him, but it's very very limited. But he watches all these shows, by the way. He actually watches all this.
But if he had an argument that was good, then maybe you'd make him make. But it's just he doesn't. I don't think he understands that his argument is bullshit, and we all know it.
I
That's
think
the reason
he
why
knows.
he gets so hate. You think he knows his argument is
No, I
bullshit?
think he knows. Yeah, because he avoids making positive claims. Like he actively avoids making positive claims. You don't do that unless you know that you don't really have an argument to put forth. All right, because I'll play coy in certain conversations, or I'll avoid making too many claims that I can't back up. And so that's something that I actively do. But he avoids making any, so he doesn't have. Well, in his mind, he doesn't have a burden of proof, but you still do, even if you reject something. But for him, that's why that someone made this website of questions he won't answer. Well, he won't answer any questions. Doesn't matter what they are, because then he has to substantiate things. But I do want to address something here in the chat. Do you really think that people like Jesse Peterson and Candace Owens really hate themselves just for being black? I feel that the snob part of Owens is 100%, but is that from anti-blackness? I think that's a very fair question. Very fair. So actually, I'll address what I think, and then I'll let Nate answer how he feels. So, do I think that Jesse Peterson and Candace Owens really hate themselves for being black? I think part of the reason why that they've gravitated towards a certain political party is because of a self-loathing that they feel resides within the demographic that they are in. Not necessarily that they look in the mirror and hate themselves with a passion. I'm being facetious when I say they look and they see something blacker and darker. That's just an Uncle Ruckus reference from Boondocks. But they hate that when people look at them, they associate that with all these negative stigmas from other individuals. Just like I would hate the same thing. I understand that about them. I don't want to ever be compared to that retard in fucking Jersey. But unfortunately, because of the society we live in, that is a fact. People will judge me by his actions. That is simply the way things are. So they do despise that. But the snobbish part of Owens is 100%, but a part of it is definitely anti-blackness. And the reason I say that is because I think I had mentioned this before. When you hear the reasons for why they hold certain positions, it's typically rooted in a narrative of them being a superior form of black person, because you never need to couch a position for yourself as being a superior white person. How many times do you hear another white person say that, well, I held this like a redneck, or I don't want to look like white trash, or here's how white trash would do it, and I'm not doing it that way. When you listen to these people talk, you hear that all the time. I've yet to hear a black conservative say that they hold a position from the political right and not at the same time denigrate other black people. It's amazing to me that other people, if you don't know what you're listening for, but that sort of thing, it really does bring home with me the idea that in their minds that they believe themselves to be a part of a talented 10th, where people should, emulate them, and they are the exemplars for others. And so while I'm sure that's not necessarily true for every single one of them, but the ones that specifically have that type of rhetoric, it does ring true every single time.
Well, the first, just speaking for Jesse, I wanted to speak first to Jesse Lee Peterson. I think Jesse Lee Peterson is self-made. I don't think he wants to be black. That's why I made a statement I made earlier. And if you've watched any of his stuff, he always says this one thing. He always says this one thing, and that thing is, black people. Black people do this. Or he'll say black people did this, or black people act like this. And he overgeneralizes black people. He's saying all black people is going to act a certain way, and it's almost like he doesn't realize that he's black. So that's why I think Jesse Lee Peterson is kind of self-loathing. And when you watch his stuff, you'll understand why I've come to that conclusion, because of the way he talks about black people in the third person as if he wasn't black himself. Candace Owens is a little different. I think Candace Owens may not be self-loathing, but I think she's an opportunist. I don't believe she believes what she thinks she believes. What she's been doing, it seems to me, is she's, I call it, conservative for pay. She's wearing a shirt that said him too, talking about the Me Too movement. She's taken as extreme conservative positions on every position as she possibly can, against women, against gays, against whatever. She's taken that position. I think she's taken that position because for her, she's met Kanye West. She's become a star. Her now career and the way she makes her money is based on her believing this thing. And if a man makes his living based on what he believes, then bet you he's going to believe the things that are going to keep his pocket filled. And I think that's where Candace Owens is. So.
All right, and then I've actually made a joke about this in the past, that if I actually wanted to make a YouTube career, and this is me making fun of someone else in the community who said something similar to this. I've said in the past that if I actually did want to make some money, I could turn myself into make a whole new page and turn myself into Jesse Lee Peterson or someone like him, and then just parrot all the typical things I hear from folks on the right, all the anti-black nastiness that is founded in some fact, but then it's extrapolated to this enormous length to not really resemble anything that we see in reality, just kind of caricatures of what people want to believe is the case. But people will eat that up. People will readily accept it because I am saying the things that they believe. I am acknowledging things, even as a black man, acknowledging things that they can go, here, look. Another one of your people said this too, so it must be right. People eat that shit up, and they will pay for it just to have that peace of mind. And I've seen it. I have seen it happen a countless number of times. And I think it is like people have tried it on me. People have said, "Oh, look." They didn't say you people, but another black guy said this, and he agrees with me, as if, and you laugh. But I've had that happen to me quite a few times, and it's scary because they don't realize that now that it's coming out of a black mouth, you automatically believe that I'm supposed to just accept this thing because another black person said it, not because it's right, not because you actually have evidence to show it, but because a black person said it. I'm supposed to suspend my ability to be objective and just say, okay, brother, I see you. Really? You think that little of black people that you would do something like that? And you don't see that. It doesn't actually ring true in your brain to say, maybe I have a fucked up expectation for this demographic of people. It's something that I don't do for any other group of people, but for black people, I think this is acceptable. I don't know.
Well, I'm going to be distracted.
Drag. It's hard to go behind that drag. That was like a full rant right there. I was like, shit, I don't know what to fucking say now. Drag sucked all the mic and hit all the points. I'm like, damn. I agree. You even got the white boy agreeing.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, I mean, no. Well, the half white, the African in here.
I know. I bet you with Davey.
I'm looking at some big ass right now.
I know, yeah.
But no, it's something that me and my cousin talk about, because people think because he's a police officer, because, he's former military, because, he has a master's degree in criminology, that he's just going to be a mindless bootlicker. Like, that's actually an expectation for him. And he says, no, my cousin will be the first one on Facebook to post something about police fucking up. He'll be the first one to say something. And so he's stepping across that blue line and saying, no, I'm not going to suspend my integrity because you think just because I wear this uniform. That's not going to happen. And that's sad that is an expectation. That's sad that these things are the case, and we're going to continue to have people like Jesus is Lord and some of these other cats until they are actually exposed for who they are. And I don't think that they actually want society to be better. And I'll go out on a limb and say that I don't think that they want to actually work with people, because when you want to work with people, and Jesus Lord, you can feel free to correct me. I'm just using you because you're here, and I've actually had quite a few conversations with you. When I want to work with somebody that I disagree with, I sit down and I try to understand where it is that they come from. If there is, I'll just use an example. If there's some white boy that is having some issues with some of his black coworkers, and he comes to me, which this actually did happen, and he says, I'm having this issue. This guy thinks I'm being a racist, but I'm just giving him critiques that I give anyone else. And the first thing I say is, man, I know you. You do have some racial hangups. You do. But talk to me about what's going on, and I'll tell you how to communicate this in a professional way. That this guy that you're talking to may perceive something that I already know, but you may be able to keep some of your hangups separate from your job, which you may or may not. I don't know. So in the same respect, I don't see Jesus Lord going out on the limb to actually understand why 93% of people who fit in my demographic and Nate's demographic and Imp's demographic are voting this way. 93% do that. That's a huge majority.
97%.
97%. 97%.
93 means we lost 4% of the people. 97%.
Yeah. I shorted. So 97%.
Well, it could be 100 because the number is in the margin of error.
That's true. I mean, we know there's one. There's one sitting
here.
Candace Owens. 99.999. Candace Owens, Jeffrey Peterson. These are Trump voters. But listen, one thing though, because right now, I am going to have to go because I got a wild baby who's gotten up, and I got to now put her back to bed. I don't know why she's up at 10:52 at night. But she's looking for daddy to have some problems right now. So,
that's okay.
No, I don't want to keep this baby off my lap. But so I want to thank everybody for watching. Thank you for coming out. Drag, any last words?
Oh, hey, if you enjoyed what's been going on, folks, please feel free to give to Christina Blackfeather. For those of you who are my Patreons, I do apologize about the broadcast that you all were supposed to get with us. If you do check it, you'll see that there is a Q&A with me and Mr. Drag afterwards, the second video. Part of that money, and I've said this before on my own channel, is going to go toward Christina Blackfeather. Even though me and the wife have donated quite a bit actually over the course of this weekend, and we've contributed, we're still going to. It doesn't stop. It's not going to stop. Unfortunately, we live in an imperfect society, and even I am a huge advocate for having universal fucking healthcare and catching up the rest of the world. But until we get there, we need to try and look out for one another. You can look past the fact that Christina Blackfeather did help Von Helton become Sorcerer Supreme. I'm willing to look past that. I'm willing to, because she's an awesome person. She did it with the best intentions in mind, okay? But we are still going to provide you guys some laughs, some lulls, and some more gaming if you're into gaming. But there will be another roast, and you heard it here, folks. I will be on the hot seat. I will be the one roasted, and we will have the Wolf Pack, the unofficial Wolf Pack, which is Xavier, Scientist Sam, myself, and Captain Osimo. So the rest of the Wolf Pack will be on the panel to roast me next time, along with a few. Jesus is Lord. You and the rest of the CCP want to come roast me? Feel free. I am opening myself to the worst of the worst. And
before you volunteer yourself, you should probably view the previous content.
Yes. Yeah, you gotta. We set the bar pretty high. If you've not seen it yet.
So me, Sam, Drag, and Cap, when all put together, is kind of bad.
That's putting it lightly.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's what's coming down the pike, folks. Let us know what type of content you guys would like to see. So the roast was extremely successful, and so we do plan on continuing to do that. Since bills don't go away even after the weekend. We did a lot of good work, and the link is being posted in the live chat right now. It will be placed into the description after the video's down if you're going to watch this later. So I do encourage folks to try and reach out and touch somebody and let folks know, hey, here's what's happening. So on that note, Xavier, you got anything to say?
I'm like, if Drag does an imitation of a G-Man rap, and they'll do $100 donation.
Oh.
No. It has to be like the Ronnie one, like a full imitation.
Like a full imitation. I'll go get the giant Pikachu suit, and I'll see what's going on. Me and Mr. Drag were now that you mentioned it, me and Mr. Drag were planning on doing something.
I'm like this will be like the $300 or $400 that I've donated to see this imitation.
It actually took me a while to come up with those lyrics to do shit like that. It didn't take him a long time because he thinks says and days rhyme. I don't know why, but he thinks that they rhyme. But I actually sat down and tried to adjust like
why that is.
Oh accent. God, no. My talent is not rhyming things and coming up with words in quick succession. My talents are trying to peer past bullshit and figure out, like patterns and shit. That's I know I will never ever be a rapper because my ability to do shit like that is not. I learned in 7th and 8th grade fucking after in high school after lunch, I couldn't hang.
Right.
Could not do it.
Okay,
my ass
the camera is at.
So no.
All right, listen, we're going to see you guys next week. Thanks again for watching, and peace.